Hey all, Bree from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by my delightful co-host, Bree Tucker.
Well, hello, Betty. How are you?
I had to go high with that one. Bree Tucker. Oh, the vocal stylings you get of us every day, who are totally trained singers who have had years of experience pretending to be vocal virtuosos.
Singing in the shower, in the car.
We can do this with our yelling too.
Oh my gosh.
Don't do that. Get out of here.
I am very good at raising my voice. That is probably a skill, I would say. Anybody in my family would tell you, Bree has got a very good inside-outside voice.
Well, if you struggle with yelling, you're going to want to stick around for this episode because we're talking about why you can't just stop yelling. You can't just make that a goal for yourself to stop yelling, because there's a specific reason behind your emotional outbursts. And that's what we're digging into, and what you can do instead to make that change, to stop yelling. So let's get on with the show. You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. In our balance program, we talk to a lot of moms, and a lot of moms come in and they say they want to make this change to stop yelling at their kids. And we make goals in our balance program. And so this is one of the goals that we hear the most often. And stop yelling is not a good goal.
No.
It's not a good goal.
It's awful because it's because you should keep yelling all the time, right?
Yeah, and then you feel like a failure because you can't stop yelling. And you make your goal, you're like, I will not yell when my kids do such and such. And then they do such and such. And you're like, what the hell? I did it.
Or even better, they don't do such and such. They do something completely different, and you still lose your stuff, and you yell.
Yeah.
And like you said, then it comes back to, well, I'm a bad person because good moms don't yell. Good parents don't yell, right? And why can't I be more gentle like so-and-so, your favorite parenting influencer you follow, or your best friend, or your sister, or your mom? I don't know. You constantly then start comparing that it's a personal default within you that you can't control the yelling.
And that's not true. It's not true at all. And even comparing yourself to others, like the parenting influencers, sometimes when you get advice from people, and we feel here at No Guilt Mom, we're very transparent with you about what we do. We make mistakes all the time.
Yep.
All the time. I'm not so much of a yeller, but I am a snide comment maker. And I do say some pretty harsh things that I then have to apologize for. A lot of passive aggressiveness comes through me that I have to apologize for.
But Brie, on the other hand, is a yeller. Her kids will tell you she's a yeller. And I do. So let me kind of just back up slightly what we're saying. We're not saying that you can't not. That if you're a yeller, you're going to stuck being a yeller, and it's going to be like, hey, I'm a yeller. That's just what I am going forward. There are things that you can do. But what we're saying is, if you tend to have that moment where you just boil over, you raise your voice, you yell, there are things you can do to fix it. You didn't just break your child. You didn't just become the Incredible Hulk or Frankenstein or some other kind of monster. It's okay. There are things that you can do. There are things you can do to recover from it, and there are things you can do to help decrease the amount of times that you yell. And I'll say that's what I have become over the years. I do not lose my cool nearly as much as I used to because of the things we're going to share and talk about.
I would say not yelling is not the change that you need to make. It's actually the result of other changes you need to make.
Yes, that is very well put.
It's the side effect of other changes that you need to make, but it can't be controlled directly because we are basically held hostage by our nervous system. It's not in our brain's total control. It's our nervous system's control. It's how sensory stuff affects us, how loud noises affects us, how stress affects us, how overburdened by the mental load we are. That really affects our patience and results in yelling, right? A lot of the time. And we give ourselves shame for yelling, but really there are so many other factors in play. Dr. Mona Bellahook, the author of Brain Body Parenting, and she's been on the podcast as well, talks about our body budget and how we have a specific number of things that we can handle at one time. And when our body budget goes over budget, that's when we have the big reactions. That's when we start yelling. That's where we get really impatient with people. I'm a very impatient person when I get over my body budget. That's what happens.
And there are things that we can do. So we're going to help share what you can do to help curb that yelling, not stop it cold turkey, because that's a hard goal to have, but how to curb it. And then also what you can do when you're having those big reactions, how you can also then start to curb those as well. So
yeah, we have 4 things that you can work on. 4 things. So if you're not driving, take out your notes. Start taking notes. If you are driving, keep your eyes on the road because we will have this in a transcript or show notes for you.
Well, or just listen to us again. Keep listening to us. We got good stuff here. We got good stuff. Keep listening.
We got good stuff. So the first thing you can do, it's really not the yelling. Remember, we told you yelling is a symptom of something else. So to find what it is a symptom of, you need to reflect.
Think of yourself as a mirror, as a beautiful crystal clear lake.
And the best way to do this is to think about what happened before the yelling. The best example I had was when I was in therapy after having my first child. And my therapist taught me something about circle thinking, where you go back and you examine your thoughts before you started either being really down on yourself, which was my symptom. I would be really hard on myself, really self-critical. And you look through the process. So the first thing is, okay, let's look at when you went from contained and calm to yelling. When we identify that moment, we need to think, well, what happened? What happened right before that moment? What was my trigger? And maybe it was something like, I can use this story actually with my daughter. My 14-year-old daughter was in my room at 9:45 and saying, "No, Mom, don't make me go to bed. Don't you love me?" This is what 14-year-olds do. And it was that thing that she said that then triggered an emotion, a thought within me. And the thought within me was like, oh my gosh, here is my teenager on my bed wanting to spend time with me. If I don't take advantage of this right now, she's not going to be here forever. And I'm going to lose this time with her. And those were the thoughts.
I call it the grateful bug. It comes in, it makes you feel like crap for not feeling grateful about every second of every day. Sorry. That's just my little thing.
Exactly. No, it's not. You better say you're sorry.
I know. We'll have to do a whole episode on how to stop saying sorry. And I'll take my own notes on that one.
Me and our friend Shayna got on Brie because Brie apologizes for everything. And we're like, instead of saying don't apologize, we're like, you better say you're sorry.
I'm the kind of person that'll be like, it's raining outside. I'm so sorry, guys.
You better. It's your fault. It's raining. It's your fault.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. So the grateful bug.
Anyways,
gotcha.
So then I look at, okay, well, what feeling did that trigger in me? And it triggered sadness. It triggered guilt. It triggered shame that I'm a horrible mother.
But you're not.
Once you have those identified, you can go back and ask yourself, okay, Well, what could I tell myself instead that would be more helpful when I said, no, you need to go to bed? And instead, I could tell myself, hey, I am showing my daughter how I am setting a clear boundary about protecting my body budget because I know I need the sleep.
Mhm.
I also know that I am touched out right now and I cannot be touched anymore, else I'm going to lose it.
Yeah.
And how does that make me feel? Well, that makes me feel really strong and empowered when I think about it that way, that I am setting a boundary.
Yeah.
And this circle thinking is something that I couldn't control in the moment. I had to go back after a situation happened. So maybe it was after I didn't set the boundary and I just broke down crying and I was just snappy and making those movements and getting really mad.
Yeah.
I would have to go back and go through this process and be like, okay. But after going through that process enough times, after doing the reflecting, I am able to now catch myself in the moment when that situation happens. I could identify that feeling and I could immediately switch course before I do anything that I have to apologize for.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a huge thing. It's all about that ability to reflect on what's happening, what has happened. That is a huge factor there. So,
It's huge, but know that you can't do that in the moment right away.
yeah.
You really have to practice going backwards first. And then your brain gets trained to do it. That's the first one, reflect.
All right. So, what about number 2? When you reflect, what do you do now?
You need to take some inventory too. Am I upset about something else? And something that we love to remind people of is HALT.
Yes.
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And if you're any one of those, it's about time to advocate to make sure that you get what you need.
And a big thing with that is because HALT is something that everybody deals with because these are your basic human needs, your basic needs. And if any of them are out of whack, it can totally address everything else with you.
And I cannot stress this enough. You cannot identify this in the moment right away. You just can't do it. Your amygdala, that portion of your brain that is the fight or flight response, it is so charged and trained right now that it is impossible to stop before you yell. If your immediate reaction is yelling or reacting in a big way, it is impossible. You can't do it. You can look afterwards when you've calmed down and reflect. But when you reflect, just notice, was I hungry? Was I angry? Was I lonely? Was I tired? And the more you're able to take note of that, you're like retraining and creating new neural pathways in your brain so that eventually in the moment, you'll be able to be like, oh, wait, I'm hungry right now. Stop right there. I need to get some food and probably shouldn't talk to me for a little bit.
And you know what? The truth is, we know it's pretty common. I mean, Snickers had an entire ad campaign for years about what happens when you're hungry.
Oh, yeah. And the cool thing is that once you know that this is a trigger for you, you're able to stop and make sure you get what you need before you get to that point. I mean, just when we were going on a trip, the three of us a month ago, I remember we were in the hotel room and I'm like, okay, we got to go, guys. We got to go get the food. We got to get the food right now. And that's because I knew that when my hunger gets out of control, everything, the entire world starts melting down for me. That is when I start thinking that people are not liking me or that I'm a horrible person and it's all hunger related. Once I get food, I'm fine. I'm fine. But knowing that about yourself is really helpful so you can prevent those things from happening.
It's a huge thing. Yeah.
It's a huge thing.
So we have the 2 things that have happened so far. Again, reflect. And when you have reflected, you need to take your inventory. We have 2 more tips that we're going to be sharing with you on what you can do to help reduce those big reactions.
Hey, Aubrey here, and I wanted to share one of my favorite gifts to give during the holiday season, a Storyworth book. It is the most amazing gift ever. Storyworth is an online service that lets you create a special and unique gift of someone's story. I've given Storyworth books to both of my parents, and it has been their favorite gift, hands down. And did I mention it is so easy? Storyworth emailed my parents questions every week that I handpicked from their massive list of questions that they have. All my parents had to do was open their email and answer them. That easy. I asked my dad questions like, did you have any rules that you set for yourself as a parent, which you immediately broke? And he did. I even asked both of my parents, are you more like your mom or your dad? And they shared a lot of really amazing qualities that I didn't know about my grandparents at the time. Then at the end of the year, Storyworth compiles all of their answers, puts them into this gorgeous book that covers everything. My parents love showing us their books, and I personally love getting a chance to read them. With Storyworth, I am giving those I love a thoughtful and personal gift from the heart that preserves their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Bree, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM.
Okay. So the next two tips that we have for you are pretty good ones. They're ones that I deal with on a pretty regular basis. The first one is when you're feeling calm, try making some scripts for yourself on what to use when you're upset. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but when I'm really stressed out, things do not come naturally to me. I tend to be really worked up and I have a hard time figuring out what those steps are, what I should have done, what I could have done, what I could have said. It's that whole shoulda, woulda, coulda monster comes in. Does that happen to you, Joanne?
Taylor Swift song.
I know, right?
The shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah. I mean, all the time.
Yeah. So like,
And you don't know what to say and you stammer over your words. And it
mhm.
helps to have a script that you can rely on
Yep.
and say and comes out.
So we actually have a few scripts that we use here at No Guilt Mom. We share them in a lot of different stuff that we do. Our Common Happy Parenting program, we share them in Balance, but they help in so many different situations. So the first one is the I statements. We talk about this too in so many things, don't we? Other people cannot make you feel a certain way, right?
Mhm.
We have to take control for our own emotions, take ownership of that. But then we can also acknowledge the factors that impacted those emotions. So the
Mhm.
I statements would be something like, I feel frustrated when you will not leave my bedroom after I've asked you to and it's bedtime.
Yes.
Coming back,
Yes.
right? Coming back to an example that we've had before.
So telling people that I statement is really the basis of a strong relationship because it's good for other people to know, number one, how they come across and what they're starting kind of in you and how you perceive it because everybody's different what they perceive. We all have different histories. We all have different things that have happened to us in the past. So when somebody that you care about knows that, they can be a lot more thoughtful about their communication with you in the future.
Yeah.
And no, that's the effect.
Because it also came in a healthy way. You
Yes.
weren't picking on them personally, which sometimes not sometimes, I think for many of us, it's hard when someone makes it sound like it's all 100% us. So first there's the I statement that we just did. Another great one is the when then. That's something that Joanne, I mean, you share that a lot with our balance team or our balance members. And I feel like it is something that has to be used a lot because so many times we'll be like, oh, well, my kids, they always say that they're going to do their chores before they start watching YouTube or whatever. I don't know. But they never do. They never do. So I have to nag them. And we're like, oh, but wait,
Yeah.
that does not need to do that.
No, when-then's a great way to set your boundaries and your personal expectations because you are giving up your power when you say that your kids don't do that. You actually have a lot of power in that situation because you could say something like, when you finish your chores, then you can go watch YouTube. And it's just the order that you do things.
Yeah.
We all have an order we do things. So when then is a great script to use.
Yeah, because you just said it also gives them back the power too. It's
Yes.
not you guys trying to have this arm wrestle for who's going to be on top. It really does give your kid the power to be able, and think about it. You do it when they're little. How many of us, when our kids were really little, like toddlers, were like, do you want the red cup or the blue cup? Do you want this game or that game? Do you want this book or that book? We give them those choices to help them have more power and autonomy in things, and saying, when you do XYZ, then we can XYZ. That really does go back and give everybody that teamwork.
And it's simple. It doesn't use a lot of words.
No.
Because as adults, we tend to over-explain. And when then is a very simple thing to say.
And that's when that emotion level just goes higher and higher because it gets frustrating.
And I noticed that you do something that kind of slows your thinking down too. I've noticed this a lot. You like start saying something and you're like, what I hear you saying is, and then you repeat it.
That is another huge one right there for sure. It's having to go back and say it again. Okay, I'm hearing this because sometimes that Bob is telling us random crap that is not being said.
Yeah.
That can be a tough one. And then this is my favorite one. It works really great with my youngest because my youngest, she's 15 now, and she is an arguer. I keep telling her that if you do not go into some kind of litigation in life, you are missing out on a natural talent of yours. Because she is the kind of person that will just keep going and going a lot of times because actually, I'm not sure what her motivation is for doing it. I would assume it's because she thinks she's going to win. Or not win. I hate saying that, but she thinks that that's going to be an effective method for her. And then her emotions go up, then my emotions go up. Then my volume goes up, her volume goes up, and we just end up yelling. Both of us do, and neither of us like that situation. So this is one I use a lot. I'll take a deep breath and I'll go, I love you, and no. And that is what I tend to say a lot when they keep trying to push that boundary. I've already said whatever the boundary is, and they're having a hard time accepting it. I just keep saying it at an even, because for me, it's a short phrase and I can say it at an even level, even if I feel my blood pressure going so high and inside I want to scream, I want to yell, I can manage to pull out the I love you and no. I just shake my head. I love you and no. As I've said, I love you and no. And
it's a great script.
Yeah, it's a great one that I can pull out pretty easily. And I use it a lot when I hear myself starting to frustrate. And at this point, I've been using it probably for a couple of years now. And my daughter will normally back off because she knows at that point that it's done. And it doesn't mean that we'll never discuss the situation again, but we're done in that moment because I'm getting to a point where I am getting unregulated and I'm going to start yelling. And I don't like yelling and she doesn't like it when I yell.
But if yelling happens, it's okay in the long run. Because that brings us to our fourth tip.
Yes, you can yell and you can repair afterwards because it happens. Nobody's perfect. You don't expect perfection out of your kids, right?
No, it happens. It totally happens. And by repairing is another way for you to say apologizing, but it may not be apologizing. It may be something else that you need to do. And it's all based on the other person. So like when I say something passive aggressive, usually that is how I operate. When I go into repair, usually it's to my daughter because she gets me to that point. And I'll say, hey, I said this and I am so sorry. I didn't mean for that to come out. I didn't want to say it that way. And I apologize. And then she'll tell me some other things about how it made her feel and how wrong I am. And I just have to stick with it. And I'm like, yep, I am so sorry. I wish I didn't say that. And I'm going to try to do better. And that's all I can do.
Yeah. Because I think what you're doing in that situation is you're acknowledging your part. And a lot of times too, when we're upset, we just want somebody to acknowledge a part that they had in it in some cases.
We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Brie, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes, Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays because because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week, we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, Joanne. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused minigame quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org.
And again, right now we're modeling that for our kids, what a healthy conversation sounds like. It's where you admit that, okay, I had a part in it. And a lot of times we feel remorse for it, right? I'm sorry that I had that part. It was never my intention to have us yell or to have anybody be upset or feel hurt. So that's where you can bring in that whole I feel statement again. I feel blank when you blank. I felt blank when you blank. I have to say this, and I imagine, Joanne, you're the same. I would say at least half, if not more, of our quote unquote arguments in our household between our family members is because of a misunderstanding.
Oh, yeah.
I felt
totally.
like when you said such and such, you were trying to imply such and such. Or when you said such and such, I felt like such and such. And a lot of times they're like, oh, wait, that is totally not what I meant at all.
And just correcting that little thing to be like, oh, thank you so much for telling me that, because that is not my intention whatsoever.
Yeah.
I did not want to do that.
And on those other occasions where it's not that, it's I felt hurt when you said that my outfit looked ugly. Okay, I probably shouldn't have used those words. Ugly isn't probably the best word. What I meant was it clashed. Like, I don't know. What I mean is,
it wasn't my personal style. We get into that a lot with my daughter. We were just talking about Instagram the other day. Well, and I'm like, yeah, I put the shark reel up. Maybe you could use a shark reel for your Taylor Swift account. And immediately out of her mouth, no. Oh, that's for old people.
I would have been like that gif of the woman that's getting ready to strangle a kid.
And immediately I go, excuse me? I didn't mean it that way. I just meant people my age don't do it. I'm like, okay. Thank you so much.
Yes.
When I've already had that discussion with her about the old people comments, she makes a lot of them. We've talked about how it affects me before. So I'm able just to look at her now and she's, oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. But when you go and repair it, they learn those things and you don't have to keep repeating it over and over because they'll be like, my bad.
Yep. Yep. And we have a whole nother episode on this, even way back at the very beginning of No Guilt Mom. We have episode 30 is what to do after yelling at your child. We have an entire episode of helping you repair after yelling because it happens, people. You are not a bad person because you lost your cool. I would probably say the Hulk becoming the Hulk isn't the problem. It's when he tears up the city out of his anger and rips things up. That's when it's a problem. We all tend to get upset and get frustrated, but we can repair through it. What was it recently with the heat wave over the summer? There was that picture going around, the meme of, I'm sorry for what I said when it was 110 degrees outside. Yeah, sometimes that's where it comes down to. Just, I'm sorry what I said when I was hungry. I'm sorry what I said, whatever it is.
There's a lot of things to work on becoming better aware of. So know that this process really takes time, and give yourself a lot of self-compassion and a lot of love when you take the time to do it. And the number one place to start is just start reflecting and start knowing when you reflect, you are able to identify what triggers you and work on those triggers and acknowledge them. And then they become conscious. When they become conscious, that is when you could take the steps to stop yelling, and you'll find it's actually effective that way.
Yes.
So make sure you reflect. That is where you start. And if you want some company on this whole journey, come and join us in Balance. What are you waiting for? Balance is this amazing, amazing place where not only you have the support, but you get me and Brie as coaches, you get all of our challenges, and it is just a wonderful, growing place to be.
And I would say that so many of the moms in our group are working on this. We're all working on trying to be a little bit less reactive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And take our amygdalas down a notch.
Yes, for sure.
And we hope we're seeing you in our Mom Ignited Summit this week. It's going on right now. If you're not in it, momignited.com. Go there.
Come join us.
Get your free ticket.
Yeah, come join us and all the fun. It's amazing. So hoping to see you guys there.
Remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by. Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday, who was pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.